so strong enough.
Today is Sunday pot roast on a Wednesday. It kind of gets to the point in the holiday season where I get caked out, cookied out, fudged out, candied out, and I'm kind of to that point now. It's it's just before Christmas, and I'm getting kind of just okay, enough is enough. I don't want to see it. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to bake it anymore. I want to smell real food cooking in my kitchen. So this is what I'm going to do today. What you're going to need is, first of all, your pot roast, and it can be beef, pork, veal, whatever roast you want. Venison, oh, it's beautiful. Venison's awesome. And I leave mine frozen until I'm ready to put it into my Dutch oven. I want it to cook a long time. I'm going to put it in my oven at 350, and I'm going to let it go for about 4 to 5 hours, maybe even 6, depending on how it's falling apart. I want mine to fall apart. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. If you're like me, I prefer to keep the skins on my vegetables. And just make sure that you wash them. That's imperative that you do that you wash your vegetables before you're going to cook with them. Get yourself a little scrubby vegetable brush. That's what I have over there. I also like mushrooms in mine. Of course, onion. I love onion. Everybody knows that by now. I don't have beef stock. I haven't made any of that to can yet. But I do have beef base, and I'm going to use that. So in order to make a pot roast, there really isn't any rules. You can put whatever you want in it. I just prefer carrots, onions, potatoes, mushrooms, garlic, pepper, dried chives from my garden, and a couple of bay leaves and some beef stock. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started on chopping all this up. Oh, and I have some green onion here that's in my fridge that I need to get used up. Otherwise, it's going to go in my little bag here. Oh yeah, my bag. I had in my bag a potato that had a little brown on it, and so I cut it open to see how far it went in. It went in kind of far. So I chopped the brown part off, but because that tells me that this potato might have been getting a little bit old, I just cut all the bad stuff off, and of course I washed it, and I'm going to throw it into my bag here. And everybody knows by now, this is my vegetable stock bag. All my kitchen scraps go into this bag, and once I have enough, I make vegetable stock with it, and then I can it, and then I can save it for soups and all kinds of different recipes. Someday I will have enough in this bag to show you how I do that. Okay, so now it's time for me to get started on chopping stuff up. But all the scraps are going to go in there. All the scraps that I'm not going to use. Because I hadn't peeled my onion yet, I hadn't washed it. So now it's washed and ready to be cut. When it comes to the potatoes and the carrots, you're going to chop them up, but you're just going to set them aside for a while, because you don't want to put those in with your roast right away, especially if you're going to be cooking it as long as I am. If you do that, then it's just, I'm sorry, I was concentrating on that. If you do that, then they're just going to be mush. You might as well just go out and buy baby food. So I usually put my potatoes in maybe an hour before the roast is falling apart and ready to where I would like it. The carrots usually go in maybe about an hour and a half before the potatoes. That way, because carrots are harder. And I tend to chunk them up bigger when I'm doing a pot roast, because I like that rustic feel to the dish itself. Okay, that onion's done. And I'm just going to continue. Now when it comes to my mushrooms, I am going to de-stem them, and we're just going to take those stems, put them right in the bag, and slice. These will cook down nicely. They're not going to take up any room at all. Okay, now you're going to notice that my potatoes I have cut and then just basically chunked up in pretty big chunks, maybe 2 inches in length, because I want that rustic feel. I love rustic food. And the carrots are going to be the same way. They are chunked up. They're not sliced or diced. They're just chunked up, just like that. And I will go ahead and I'll give these guys another rinse before I put them in my pot. Just because, you know, they've been on the cutting board and what have you. But these are, I cut the ends of them off and the tips. But this is what's left. And this is going to go right into this bag. And I will tie that back up and it'll go right back into my freezer. And now it's time for me to go get my Dutch oven. Okay, I'm just rinsing off my beef roast here. And we're going to put this guy right here into the Dutch oven. My potatoes are rinsed off. My carrots are rinsed off. Now it's going to be time to add only the onion and mushrooms and the spices. I should have said onions, mushrooms, spices, and beef broth. Sorry about that. So this is what we look like. Good stuff. Oh, it smells really good. This beef base broth will, 2 tablespoons will make, I'm sorry, 2 teaspoons will make 1 cup of broth. I don't measure, so I've never measured it before. But again, everything comes down to taste. And there's a lot of salt in that. So you want to be careful with that. That's a lot of salt. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just start adding my garlic, my onion powder, my pepper, my dried chives from my garden, 2 bay leaves, and we're going to make, I'm probably going to fill this up, which is, let's see, what does it say? See, like I said, I never measure, I hardly ever measure, about 2.5 cups. So I may even go even larger than that because I don't want this to dry out, you know, because it is going to boil. The beautiful thing about having a cast iron Dutch oven, and I haven't cooked in anything else, so I have nothing to compare it to. But in Dutch ovens and a lot of cast iron pots that have lids, they have these little, it's a drip lid. If you can hear it, that's what it sounds like. And what it does is that when this starts cooking and it starts steaming, it hits the top, and the moisture, the humidity hits this, and then it drips off these little things right back onto your meat, and it's great. And so very rarely do I ever have to go back in and add more liquid to anything that I'm making in this, if it's in the oven. So anyway, that's that. All right, so we're gonna make at least 2.5 cups of beef broth. There's 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons, 3 teaspoons, 4 teaspoons, and maybe a little bit more because it's a half. All right. Like I said, I'm not going to put any added salt in this just because I think that this has got plenty in it. So I'm just going to stir this up a little bit and determine whether or not it's enough to fit in there. And I'm just going to pour it around the sides. I don't want to knock all my yummy stuff that I put up there on the front or on the top of it. That's perfect. Perfect, perfect. Okay. I don't know if you can see it, but that is really good. And now my oven is cold. I haven't touched my oven yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna put this in the oven and turn it on to 350. I never preheat it because I think it's important that it slowly heats up rather than all of a sudden. So we're gonna put this in here, and I will probably see you in about 4 or 5 hours, but to you it'll be like 2 seconds. So we are out of the oven. It's been about 3.5, 4 hours now. Earlier I checked on it, and I removed the netting that was holding it together because I don't want it to stay together. I want it to be falling apart. So we're going to take a look here. Oh, it looks really good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to baste it a little bit. Some over the top there. And I'm just going to take a knife and I'm going to cut it because it's not quite fallen apart yet. Just want to see where we're at. Let's see. And then I'm just going to slightly turn it. And nope, that's not falling apart yet. So it's going to be in there for at least another 2 hours until I have it absolutely falling apart. So we'll see in about 2 hours, which again will be like 2 seconds to you. Hi everyone. All right, I'm back. You notice I'm not wearing a pink hat. I went back, I looked at the video that I had made earlier, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to take my winter hat off and my boots. So whatever. It has been probably 5.5 hours now since our roast has been in the oven, and I'm gonna pull it out because I think it's time to add the carrots to it. Let's see if it's fallen apart yet. Take my knife here. Ooh, yeah. Oh, it smells so good. All right. Oh yeah, we're falling apart. Now we're cooking. If I can cut it with that, and I know it's good to go. Yep, it goes right through it. Right through it. So now what I'm gonna do is, because this is good, it's starting to fall apart, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add my carrots to it. Because these are harder and they take longer to cook. And I had to change my shirt too. I spilled coffee all over it. It's kind of been just one of those days, you know, just forgetfulness and whatever. Kind of crappy outside. Really, we've got sleet and snow and ice and rain, so the roads are pretty bad, and so, but I did have to venture out today because I had to take some stuff to a friend of mine, and that's why I forgot to take my hat and boots off. So we're gonna put this back in the oven for at least another hour, and then after that we're gonna add our potatoes. All right, so it's been about an hour for the carrots to be cooking, and I'm gonna pull out my Dutch oven and see what they look like. I'm gonna poke them with a fork just to make sure that they're barely cooked, because they are going to be in there for a little bit while longer. Alright, we'll give Mickey time to add those potatoes. We shall see. Oh, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Not so done that they fall off the fork, but done enough to where they go into it softly. All right, I believe it is time to add these potatoes. Sometimes these potatoes, when they hit the side of the cast iron, when they cook, they get crispy. It's good stuff. Give that a little bit of a stir here. Get it down there into that juice. And of course, these are going to cook in a juice other than what's in the pot because of the drip lid. So all that humidity is going to fall onto these potatoes and cook them also. So these are going to take maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, judging by what the carrots are. And of course, this roast is just falling apart now, which is exactly what you want. It's completely tender, comes right off. Just going to break it up here a little bit. Let all that juice get on the inside of it. Not every single thing that I make is by hand, but today I'm going to make some biscuits, just store-bought ones, and these things freak me out. So I will peel it. Ah, Jesus! Oh, okay. Normally I wouldn't let it explode like that. I would drop it on the floor, so that totally caught me off guard. Wow. I think my heart's gonna come out of my chest. Okay, so I'm gonna use these, but I'm gonna put them on it's called an Alfred Anderson flat pan. And we're just gonna fit them right into their little slots here. They're just perfect for it. My husband's in there laughing at me. Laughing at my expense of being freaked out by biscuit bursting. I hate these things. I do. I hate opening them. Okay, so those are just going to sit there for a little bit until this gets done, or almost done, and then I'm going to put them in probably maybe 10 or 15 minutes before I pull this out and it's actually done. Then I'm just going to go ahead, pop my biscuits in, and get them cooked. And then it'll be time to eat. Soup will be on. Alright, it's been about an hour. So I'm going to check these. Check my potatoes. Just about perfect. I'm just going to break the meat up a little bit. And I think we are going to be good. Yep, this is just falling apart. That's what I'm looking for. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. So pot roast is done. It looks fabulous, if I say so myself. This roast truly is a labor of love. It takes a long time to make, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And I'm going to enjoy every bite of this. I'm going to take a bite, see what it tastes like. Oh, yeah. But only taste that. I'm gonna butter me a biscuit. Well, first I guess I better cut it open. They're still hot. The butter's melting on them. Good stuff. Awesome. Highly recommend this. Well, it's time for me to go, and that's a wrap. Go play with your own food.
It's so strong enough.